What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some insane battles submitted to the channel by fellow content creator HumanCatcherBug, who is one of the best and most consistent battlers in the world, having recently reached 9th on the GBL leaderboards at 3494 ELO, and also having won the Liverpool regional tournament earlier this year. So if you want to see some frequent gameplay at the absolute highest level, go subscribe to his channel right now. And if you're new to my channel, you could also subscribe here if you feel like it, but no pressure to do so. But anyways, looking at his team is probably not what you'd expect to see someone run at nearly 3500 ELO, but somehow he was able to pull off crazy wins with this double Shadow Electric backline, with Shadow Raikou being a devastating closer. With that being said, let's get into the question of the day. Who do you think is the best battler in the world? Maybe someone you always see near the top of the leaderboards, maybe a name that's constantly performing well at the Play Pokemon regional tournaments. Whoever it is, just let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we lead into a Giratina, so a fairly neutral matchup. Although they are running Dragon Breath as the fast move, they will go for a charge move straight away. It's just going to be a Dragon Claw, so we will no shield it. We're going to overfarm just by one Shadow Claw here, go for the Shadow Ball, and the opponent does commit a shield. And now if the opponent wants to, they can go for another charge move just before we make it to the second Shadow Ball. We shield up the Dragon Claw here, they don't make a catch or anything, so we go straight for the second Shadow Ball. The opponent commits both shields very early on in the match, and we're going to swap into our Shadow Ampharos. We can tank a charge move here, so we will let the first one go through. We're now going to overfarm in this matchup, farming to back-to-back brutal swings, but the opponent catches perfectly onto a Shadow Snorlax there, and that is really unfortunate, as a Focus Blast would be dealing huge damage to the Snorlax, but we still make it there, and Focus Blast takes out the Shadow Snorlax, although the opponent's probably going to come back in with their Giratina. And that's exactly what they do. They get the farm down. We come in with our Shadow Raikou here, and Raikou is fairly glassy, although you will be surprised to see that it does tank moves better than you probably expect. Although the opponent's already at a second Dragon Claw, that is not ideal for us. It does some decent damage here. We go for the farm down. They've actually got Tapu Fini in the back, and this is looking like we should be able to win this. Wild Charge nearly takes them out. We swap out there, making sure we don't take any Water Gun damage. We have a second Wild Charge loaded. We can throw it into the Giratina, and that will easily take out the Giratina, and we take that game. So going into the next battle, a much better lead for our Trevenant here, and the opponent swaps into Cobalion, which is certainly not a Trevenant response, but the awkward thing about this matchup is that we've got two Pokemon in the back that aren't necessarily going to do too well up against Cobalion. We swap into Ampharos, catching a Stone Edge. Very nice play here, and I think we should be able to live this, although it's going to be very close, and we barely live it, but we won't live another double kick, so we have to go for a charge move here, and they are at more than 1 HP, so unfortunately it does not KO through the shield, and they do regain switch advantage, which is not great because they've got a Shadow Swampert in the lead, and they're going to come back in with the Swampert. Now, we are of course going to shield this up, and honestly, up a shield, we might even be able to flip this matchup here. Let's see. Going to go for a Shadow Ball on the CMP tie. The opponent knows they won't win CMP, so they don't throw straight away. Good play by this opponent, and they also throw just before we make it to another charge move, but we will be able to go for the Shadow Ball here, and from this range, Shadow Ball will be taking out the Shadow Swampert, and they've got a Pidgeot in the back, and we will easily be able to go for the Wild Charge here. Wild Charge one-shots the Pidgeot, and we take that game. So there's the insane closing power of the Shadow Raikou here in the Open Ultra League. Unfortunately, we lead into Pidgeot there. That's probably the worst thing Trevenant could possibly see in the lead. We're going to swap into Ampharos, baiting out a Scrafty, and also baiting with the Brutal Swing. We're going to shield up the foul play there, and we will now be able to make it to a Focus Blast in time, but the opponent's going to go for a Power-Up Punch just before we get there. At this point, we won't make it to a Brutal Swing and a second Focus Blast, so we full send the Focus Blast, grabbing the second, the second shield from the opponent. Although they've got a boosted Scrafty, this is really not good for Trevenant, but we can at least live the foul play there. We're going to overfarm, the opponent swaps out, giving up switch advantage, coming back in with the Pidgeot, and it's very likely that they go for a Feather Dance, so we let it go through, and we can't overfarm too much there as the opponent was fairly slow to swap out initially, so we go for the Wild Charge, taking out the Pidgeot. And they come back in with the Scrafty here, and they do throw just before we make it to the Wild Charge. We're going to use our final shield in this matchup, overfarm by 1 Volt Switch here, go for the Wild Charge, and then honestly we're probably going to swap out straight away. We do swap, but it's a Jellicent there, and I'm wondering if we could have made it to the Wild Charge in time up against the Jellicent with the double debuff defense. But unfortunately they're now able to farm down Trevenant, get to a Surf, and Surf will be enough to take out the Raikou there, and we do unfortunately lose that game. But into the next battle we see a Swampert. We are very fast to counter swap a Shadow Charizard save swap here, and we are going to shield up. It's just a Dragon Claw, unfortunately. We're going to go straight for a Brutal Swing here, but we will undercharge it. The opponent does shield up, and this is just going to be another Dragon Claw, I believe, and it is. And now we can fully Volt Switch, farm them all the way down. They're going to come back in with the Swampert. We make it to the Focus Blast just before they make it to a Hydro Cannon, and it connects. It does huge damage. The opponent goes for the farm down, and they don't get there in time. We make it to the Brutal Swing. The opponent just lets it go down. They've got a Alolan Ninetales in the back, and this is going to be very tricky. If they go for a Dazzling Gleam here, it probably takes us out, but we can't shield the first move here because this second charge move will now be a CMP tie, and if we did shield that first one, then obviously the Weather Ball would do more damage and take us out. But very well played by Human Catcher Bug there. The opponent recognizing there was no more win con, and they do concede the match. But into the next battle we see a Charizard in the lead. They swap into Registeel. We're going straight for the Focus Blast. We land it, and now we will be able to flip switch advantage. That's absolutely huge. They go for a Focus Blast. It doesn't take us out. We get the farm down, and let's see what the opponent comes in with now. The opponent's going to come in with an Alolan Muck, and that's actually not great because they've got 2 Pokemon that do very well up against Trevenant, so that might be why the opponent wasn't too fussed about winning Switch here. We're going to go for a Seed Bomb here, and this looks like it's a CMP tie. The opponent actually shields up, very interesting. But let's see what happens here. We shield up a Dark Pulse, and we're going to stay in with our Trevenant. We go for another Seed Bomb here, throwing just as they're making it to the Dark Pulse, and the opponent does let it go through this time around. We are going to probably let the Trevenant go down, save a shield for our Shadow Raikou, and this is going to be really tough in the end game. The opponent throws on alignment though, and they go for the Acid Spray, so we might be able to just make our way back into this game. Gonna shield up the Dragon Claw here, and then once again this is going to be really tricky as they make it to the Dragon Claw, so unfortunately we don't throw straight away here. Dragon Claw will nearly take us out. Actually was a CMP tie, which we lose. I did not know that. We take them out with the Wild Charge, but we don't have enough HP to survive 1 Poison Jab, and we unfortunately do barely lose that game. But into the next battle we see a Pidgeot in the lead. This time they respond with a Virizion, and once again it's not looking too great for the Ampharos, but if we can land a Focus Blast we might be able to flip this matchup. So we're going to full send it here up against the Virizion, and it connects. It does huge damage, and they throw straight away, giving us a full Volt Switch through worth of energy, and we are able to flip switch advantage. That's absolutely massive. They now come in with Cobalion. We're baiting this time around, and the opponent calls the bait there. What a play by the opponent, and they get the farm down. We don't get the new mechanic. That is quite frustrating, but I think we've still got this in the bag here. Even down a shield, the opponent goes for a catch. Nice play, but we hold on to the energy, banking a Shadow Ball before we swap out. We can come in with the Raikou, let the first Feather Dance go through. And at this point, we're going to go for a Wild Charge just before they make it to a Brave Bird. And Wild Charge does grab the first shield from the opponent. At this point, we can still let another Feather Dance go through, and that's exactly what we do. And now we're going to farm, throwing the Wild Charge just before they make it to another Feather Dance. Wild Charge takes out the Pidgeot. This opponent should be letting this move go through as we are quad debuffed, and they do let it go through. We're now going to shield this up, and I think they are 2 double kicks away from a Sacred Sword and a Stone Edge, but we're just 2 Shadow Claws away from the back-to-back Seed Bombs, so we get to the second Seed Bomb just in time, and this will be enough damage to take out the Cobalion, and we take that game. Into the next battle, another Giratina in the lead, and it is going to be Dragon Breath Giratina once again. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same opponent. When you're up this high in ELO, you do often play against these same opponents, and it takes a very long time to find a battle. I'm not speaking from experience, I'm just speaking because I've heard, them talking about it. But we're going to shield up in this matchup here. The opponent goes for the Dragon Claw. We are going to go for the Shadow Ball straight away, and Shadow Ball will be grabbing the final shield from the opponent once again, so it almost looks like the exact same battle. But let's see, we are going to let this move go through. It is a Dragon Claw. The opponent tries to catch the Brutal Swing straight away this time around, so this time it's actually not a Shadow Snorlax, though maybe it wasn't Shadow last time, I don't know, but we one-shot them with the Focus Blast. I'm just rambling on at this point, what am I doing? We go for a Brutal Swing here, and this should be enough to take out the Giratina, and they've actually got a Tentacruel in the back, so maybe it wasn't the same opponent here. Not really sure. We're going to go for the Wild Charge, and this should be enough damage to take out the Tentacruel, and we take that game. And also, props to that opponent for not quitting out straight away, because we wanted to see that Wild Charge damage landing up against the Tentacruel. But into the next battle, we see Obstagoon in the lead, very tricky lead. Gonna swap into Ampharos, and we've already been able to flip switch advantage up against one Virizion. Can we do it again? We go straight for the Focus Blast. Unfortunately, they do shield it up this time around, and that's actually really bad for us because they're going to get a massive farm down, and they can safely let the Brutal Swing go through. It does absolutely nothing, and they've got so much energy. They go for a Leaf Blade here, so clearly not running the Stone Edge, but still Leaf Blade spam is real, and they will be able to get to 3 Leaf Blades before we get to a Shadow Ball. So that is some insane spam here from this Virizion. We go for a Shadow Ball, and it looks like it's a CMP tie, so they were already at the next move, so very well timed by Human Catcher Bug. They now come in with Cresselia, and we have got Shadow Ball to deal big damage up against this Cresselia, so we might be able to flip this game here. We go for the Shadow Ball, and the opponent will be letting it go through, and at this point I think they're honestly in range for us to fully Volt Switch farm them down, so we're going to shield up this charge move. I hope we can get the farm down here. They actually get the Moonblast debuff. That is really bad for us, because this Obstagoon will easily be able to tank a Wild Charge now. I mean, it would be able to tank it anyways, but it makes it a lot more comfortable. We're now going to go for the Seed Bomb up against the Obstagoon, and the opponent's going to throw their energy pretty much straight away here. That's fine with us. They go for a Night Slash, but they get the boost there, and that is really unfortunate. There's no way we live a boosted Night Slash from this range, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But into the next battle, and we only have 2 more battles remaining. We're going to lead into a Regirock, so a pretty decent lead here, although I think in the Zero Shields this is actually really close. The opponent goes for Stone Edge there, and you can see a second Stone Edge will be enough damage to take out the Trevenant here. So we go for a Seed Bomb. That honestly does not do too much damage up against this Regirock. We go for a second Seed Bomb, and it doesn't quite take them out. And they're actually going to be able to win the Zero Shields here, but we're happy to let Trevenant go down, come in with our Ampharos, and they've got their own Trevenant in the back here, and this is why Brutal Swing is such a good move for Shadow Ampharos. So spammy, and it deals super effective damage to Trevenant. We get a shield there, and we're actually going to let this move go through. They go for a Seed Bomb. We can live that. Go for another Brutal Swing, and then we're probably going to swap out into the Raikou at this point, and that's exactly what we do. We're going to shield up our Raikou, and hopefully we can get a full Volt Switch farm down, but the opponent's going to swap into Galarian Zapdos, and look at it just bouncing on the screen like that. The opponent throws on alignment, which is really unfortunate for them, and at this point we're going to go for a Shadow Ball, and we don't want to debuff our defense straight away, and at this point, can we get the farm down? We get the farm down. We have a Shadow Ball loaded, but we're going to go for a BM, going for that Wild Charge, and it still takes out the Trevenant, and we take that game. And into the final battle, another Swampert lead. The opponent's going to swap into Registeel. This is also pretty good for Trevenant, so I'd imagine we go for a Shadow Ball, let them go for a charge move first, and then swap out eventually. But let's see, we let the move go through. and it is the Zap Cannon, and now we swap into our Shadow Ampharos. So yeah, I do like this play. I mean, I'm not going to comment on whether this is the right play or not. This trainer is at like 3,500 ELO, and I'm just trying to barely make it to Legend at this point in the season. So we go for the Focus Blast here. Focus Blast takes out the Registeel. They come back in with the Swampert, and we're just going to commit to the Focus Blast here. The opponent recognizes that, and they throw just before we make it, so very good timing from this opponent. And I think our switch clock should be up by now, so we were going to come in with the Trevenant. They've got a Shadow Skuntank in the back. We do have 2 shields though, so we should be able to win this, even though this Poison Jab damage is really oppressive. They go for a Crunch, and it doesn't get the debuff. We've now made it to the back-to-back Wild Charges. The first Wild Charge will take out the Skuntank, and the opponent recognizing there's no way they can win that game, and they concede the match. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, then make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more battles with this team, go over to Human Catcher Bug's channel, because he also uploaded a video on his channel with this team a few days ago, so definitely check that out. They are different battles to the ones in this video, and if you want to see more content like this in the future, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.